Hi, this is Crystal.
And this is Billy from Ever Expanding Life.
We finished part 2 of our camper van conversion.
This includes redoing the roof, building a ceiling,
and installing some components including an air conditioner, vent, and lights.
Today we're going to show you how we did it.
But first we'd like to give a shout out to our good friend Roxanne Ballard and her sister Charlotte.
Thank you for donating your totaled RV to Ever Expanding Life.
All the RV parts used in this video were salvaged from that RV.
We'd also like to give a shout out to the folks over the YouTube channel Roll With It.
Thank you for inspiring us to use Henry's Tropi-cool roof coating on our roof.
We'll leave a link to their video in the description.
And we'll put an affiliate link to the Henry's products on our website.
Drop a like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this video.
And be sure to check out all of our content on our website, everexpandinglife.com.
And with that, let's get started. Now that we've got the basic floor and walls in, the next part I would like to address is the ceiling. I want to get that all insulated and framed and covered before I start working on things like the kitchenette or the reinstallation of the bed. That way I'm not in the way of myself while I'm working on the ceiling. However, before I seal up the ceiling, I need to make sure that I don't have any leaks or anything like that, which I currently do. So before I can adjust the ceiling, I need to tackle the roof. There are several places on the roof where there are bolts or screws going through, and during heavy rain, we're getting dripping inside. There are also some rust spots to address. That's more like it. We're already on day 3 of prepping the top. There's a lot more rust on here than is apparent on first glance, and I've moved from using the electric sander to using a wire wheel. Works a lot better. But I've still got a lot more to take off. We're also working on cleaning the grime off. Going to need to take the lights loose, take out these various plugs and things like that. We've removed all of the visible rust. We've removed all of the muck. Now we have to clean up all of the debris. Then we're going to get all of the microscopic rust with some phosphoric acid. You can find it sold as Rust-Oleum Rust Dissolver. I have to admit, this turned out to be a much bigger job than we were expecting. It has taken us several days just to prep the surface for our painting. The rust itself turned out to be a beast because you see a little bit of rust on the surface, but it doesn't compare to what's hiding beneath the paint. And we've worked hard to try to get as much of the rust off that we can, shy of stripping the entire roof. We're pushing this day kind of late because I don't want to let the roof sit overnight and have the condensation and everything build up on it and have more rust form. So we're working towards getting the first coat of primer on tonight so that we can seal it up and protect it from the moisture. So yeah, it's been a big job. And we haven't even gotten to the paint yet. We just finished the first coat of primer. Tomorrow morning we'll give her a light sanding and then do the second coat of primer. Now I'm going to put these plugs in the roof so that they can be sealed in with the second coat of primer. The plugs are in and we're taping her out for the second coat of primer. Again, we're working another late night because we have a storm coming in tonight. Second coat of primer is done. We're going to let her sit a little bit and then throw the tarp over top before the storm hits tonight. The second coat of primer has now been sanded and washed. We're going to touch up with a third coat. For caulking, we're going to use this Henry's Tropi-cool roof sealant. A good friend of ours just gave us their RV for spare parts. A tree had fallen on it and totaled it. So we just got word the tow truck is on its way now, bringing it here. So she's in rough shape, but she's got a lot of good parts that we can take off her. I'm going to take these lights. That's in good shape. The hitch, we use this rack. Got a nice little fold-out table, a double sink, ice rack. It's got this nice rail with a curtain. 12-volt lighting. There's the air conditioned sealant vent. A little bathroom sink here. I'm hoping to find a secondary battery in here somewhere, but we just got it, so we have a lot of exploring to do to see what and all we have. There it is. There's the RV battery and the regular battery. Man, that RV battery is huge. Goodness. I think I might take a look at that air condition first, because it's the next logical step, and it's the perfect time to do the install on the roof during the process of painting. So we'll look at taking off the inside controller and begin the opening up and unfastening process. When I turn the rear air condition on, I can hear the compressor coming on, but the fan's not kicking in. And in the front, where the tree landed, this air condition's not coming on at all. So I'm going to take them all apart and off the camper and see if between the two of them I can get a working air condition. Let's see what happens. About twisted my arm off taking those things out. Just to give you a closer view of what we're looking at, I took the control knobs off. I took the two screws out that were holding the cover on. Now inside you're going to have two wires that you need to disconnect. One is just a plug. It comes down from the upper unit. And the other one is where your 110 wire comes in. So we're going to need to take this cover plate off and disconnect the three wires from the inside and loosen this retainer and pull the wire out. There are only 3 bolts that hold it to the upper unit. There's 1, 2, and 3. And the lower assembly will come down and the upper unit will be loose. Now for the hard part, getting them off the roof. Okay, I've got the covers off. Now the components themselves are still up there. And I'm thinking the easiest way to get them off is to pull the van up next to the camper. Okay, we've got the air conditioners off the roof. Now it's time to see what we can do to make them work. I've taken the control panel and I've rerouted its plug so that it can plug in direct and hang here. Then I'm going to take this old extension cord. I've removed one end. I'm going to wire it direct to those wires. Then we're going to plug it into an extension cord, turn it on, and see what happens. Just as always, you need to remember when you have something like this open, you need to keep your hands back from any moving parts or any electrical components so that you don't get hurt or shocked or anything. I've got the extension cord wired in, so now I'm going to plug it in and turn it on. The fan's working. This whole thing's working. I don't know why it wasn't working in the RV, but it's working now. Cold air too. Alright, install it. Gotta get the roof ready and the sealant. So we've got a working air condition in our first one. But for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and test the second air condition and see how it works when I hook it up. Plug her in. Turn it on. You can hear it trying to work. Seems like the fan is jammed. If I can get any motion here. That's solid. Give it some old-fashioned TLC. Free it up. Ooh, almost. There you go. Blowing cold air. Like that, we've got 2 working air conditions. Here's the ceiling vent from the RV. It has a 12-volt fan in it. I'm going to clean it up, repair that little break. So now that we've got the air condition working and I've cleaned up that vent hood to go in the back, we need to get the roof and the ceiling ready for install. There's actually some rust that is formed on the underside. I'm going to treat it with some phosphoric acid. Alright, I've set up to test the first section here in the back. I've put cardboard on the floor and over the wheel wells and against the back walls to protect it, so if it works well. I'll go ahead and cover up the rest of this. A couple things that I'm going to do here for precaution. This phosphoric acid It's a beast. I've got two fans set up. I've got one blowing in and I've got one blowing out. So I'm going to wear some thick rubber gloves, put on a respirator. I'm going to cover my eyes and hopefully that'll be enough. Okay, so there's the first application of phosphoric acid. I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes. Alright, so now we've got the rest of the back here all masked off. The phosphoric acid seems to be doing a pretty good job on that first section. I'm going to go ahead and apply it to the remainder of the ceiling. I'm going to take down these lights and things like that on the ceiling that would be in our way. We're going to do one more application of phosphoric acid to the ceiling, and then wash it off and dry it to remove any of the residual. Then we're going to apply some Rust-Oleum rust reformer. So the ceiling is all painted now with our rust reformer. Took me about 3.5 cans. The next thing I need to do is insulate and frame. We're going to go ahead and cut the hole. The Dodge Ram van has a pre-existing footprint where the vent goes. The vent fan hole is all cut. There are some little bumps around the edges. They're part of where it was raised here on the corner. So I'm going to have to see if I can flatten those little bumps on each corner down a little bit so that I can get a tight fit. She's flat. There she is. We're going to put the air condition in the center of the van. So to make sure that I'm going to get the hole in the right space on the top, I'm going to take the frame that I've made, center it in between the beams, mark the front and back spots, drill a hole up through. Then from the top I can center my hole side to side. Now I'm going to cut the exact same size hole that I did for the vent fan because the air conditioner is made to fit in a vent fan hole. There are my holes, one there and one there. I think in order to make this all flush, I'm going to give myself some metal here that I can fold up and trim to height. So instead of cutting this all the way through, I'm going to trim some flaps that I can fold up in this metal groove because this is different from back there. There's no footprint here to place a vent fan. Instead of everything falling on a nice low groove, we've got these bumps in the middle, and most of the air conditioner is going to sit on the bumps. It's just going to be lower in the middle where there's this groove. So if I take and I trim some flaps, I should be able to fill them, be able to like caulk around them to make a tighter seal. I like that idea. So we've trimmed out the corners. Now the hole's completely trimmed out. You can see how I folded up the flaps, and now it provides more of an even surface and gives me something to caulk around to help seal that divot. That's what it looks like from the inside. The next step is to cut the ceiling panel to length. We've got the center ceiling board propped into place and held with a couple screws. Now we're going to put a few more screws up there to hold it nice and tight into place so that we can mark the holes. Oh gosh, I really can't see at this distance.
Can't see with the glasses on or without.
Okay, see that line? Puppy dog, you're right in front of the camera. I would like to get some footage, so how about you come back with us? So I could do 12 inches across the center and then 6 inches along the edges. Those would be hidden underneath the side shelves anyway.
Good thing I trust you. Seemed awfully close to my head. Yeah. close to my head.
Of course, we don't know how we want to finish it yet, so. Isn't it fun flying by the seat of your pants?
Yep.
Just assuming that things are going to work out.
You expect good things. You are probably the only person that wouldn't be surprised and horrified at just how much of that theory I applied to my trip in Europe. Because, I mean, as you know, the trip got postponed twice.
Right.
So a lot of the things that I planned to do, I didn't get to do. And at that point, it was like, well, I just kind of have to go with what I got. And a lot of times it was really just, okay, well, what do I feel like doing today? Where am I going from here?
That's the best way to live.
I mean, it was really quite exciting and a little bit unnerving that it was that far away from home.
Okay, the holes are all marked. Now it's time to take the board down and cut them out. We've now cut the two large holes in the ceiling panel, the one for the vent and the one for the air condition. We've also laid out our other RV components to figure out where we need to put the holes for the wires. I'm going to put a few supports across the top here. We're going to finish putting the second layer of insulation. We're going to sand the ceiling board to smooth out the countersinks. Then we're going to paint it with this white exterior paint and primer. Time for second coat. Tomorrow we're going to finally start on the Henry's roof coat. We might even get the ceiling panel installed. Maybe. Maybe. And maybe I can even get the light fixtures in. Who knows? We'll see. We'll find out tomorrow. Okay, the day is finally here. We're getting ready to put on our first coat of Henry's roof coating. You'll notice that we've masked off the van much more than we did when we primed the roof. Lesson learned. Here we go. Now we're going to install the ceiling panel. I am the female Atlas. Are you? Then you can tell me where all the roads are. Now is when things start to really come together. Ready? Your mission, should you choose to accept it. You're going to help me find the nicest combination of lights and domes. Single and double.
Yay! Hey, that's nice.
Next light.
Yay!
So after we got the Henrys on the roof last night, the wind kicked up and blew everything out of the trees onto the top. Now I guess if it was going to happen, it happened at just the perfect time because it gave the Henrys just enough time to dry before it landed on it. It's still a little bit tacky. The surface has a bunch of stuff that's mildly stuck to it, too much to be able to sweep off. But we found that we can get it off with the vacuum and a little bit of patience. Let me show you. Have to be kind of gentle because the membrane is still kind of fragile. We are getting ready to put the vent in. Excited about that. Here we go. Cord weather strip, clay tape. We're going to use this for our gasket. They're actually little 1/8" strips. They come in a width of 8. I'm going to go about 4 wide and then double it. I'm going to stagger where the joint is. Put this one over here. Feed the wires in for the fan. All right, uh-oh. I'm losing everything. I need more hands. There should be Dr. Octopus.
Yay!
Not yay yet. Oh, I have an idea.
Insert light bulb.
I'm going to put the gasket on here. And then I don't have to go through the gasket and the hole at the same time. That's going to be much easier. You laugh. I'm glad that I finally thought of it. It's in!
Yeah!
Alright, so now wire the fan, put the screen on, pin it down. Now it's time to get the cab lights back on. First thing I have to do is make sure that I have some exposed metal on these holes here, because these lights complete the ground by bolting to the body. I'm going to clean off the Henrys and the primer. Feed the wire back through, and bolt her down. Now all I need to do is put the gasket on, put the bulb in, put the top on and screw it down. Wire them all up inside and see if they're working. I'm adding some Henry's Tropi-cool roof sealant caulk around the vent. I'm going to add some of this roof sealant caulk around my cab lights as well. When I removed them to prime underneath, there was actually rust forming underneath them, so water is getting under them. Caulking in the side view cameras. We're going to take the running lights off the RV and use them as upper running lights on our van. Okay, now I'm going to go get the rest. Marking the roof, drill my holes, make sure for each one there are no wires behind where I'm drilling. Now I'm going to go around and prep the other 5. I'm cleaning the screws from the RV running lights so I can be sure to get a good contact with the body. Now I'm tapping the holes so the screws will go in easy. I've hooked the wire into the wire harness that's hooked to my riding lights. I hook it into the back of the light. And these connect with a little push slot. So our wire's pinched in place right there. This will ground to the body right here. Put the bulb in, the cap.
Yay!
All the riding lights are on and working. Just need to caulk these in and let it dry. It's time for the second coat of Henry's. However, I would like to prevent having a situation like I did last time. I've got an idea. That should do the trick. Now let's put the Henrys on. It's time to install the air conditioner. But first I'm going to show you what I did with the hole. I framed it in 1x2s. There were still some little gaps between the 1x2s and the roof, so I stuffed those with some insulation, caulked over that, painted everything there with a couple layers of Henrys. I cut some little flaps and folded them back, filled that area with weather stripping, put several layers of weather stripping on the edges here to help build up the surface. We're also going to put a ring of weather stripping on the air conditioner itself before we set it on. Now the biggest challenge of the whole process, getting this thing up there without damaging anyone or anything. I think we can do it. Hopefully. We put these across with cardboard underneath them so that we don't mess up the surface. Then if we take the air conditioner, get it up there and set it front and back on these, but I keep it a couple inches off the roof and give clearance. I'm going to put some more of this cord weather strip on the bottom of the air conditioner. This isn't going to stick to the air conditioner, so I'm going to put it on the hole, and hopefully it'll go a little easier than the vent hood did. The weather stripping is around the hole. Now comes the adventure. Hardest part's done. Now we need to center it over the hole and get the 4x4s out from underneath it and the cardboard out of the way. Alright. Boards and cardboard are out. There's our power. This plugs into the controls. Next comes the control unit and these bolts that are a mile long. Let's save our arm a little bit. This is the only thing holding the air condition to the van. I'm going to make sure it's on pretty good. I'm going to make sure that I have a tight fit between where the air comes in and the bottom component by using some duct tape for its actual purpose, ductwork. That's the first time in my life I've actually used duct tape for ductwork. That should give us a good seal. Now, we need to plug in the unit. So we have our control right here. It only plugs in one way, so you can't get that wrong. Now, we need to hook up our power. I'm going to go ahead and strip back the wire. It'll be easier to work with down here. Then once I get it fed through, feed it through the connector. Make sure when you're hooking up your electric that your electric is not live. The other end right now is not connected, so we're safe. We need to ground it to the frame. Need to tighten the connector. Okay, it's all hooked up. I want to make sure it's working before I close it up. Run some electric to it. See if we got anything. Let's get a knob. Woo! We can close it up. Cover. Make sure that its inside pieces are in place. Got a little liner in here, and then these are the air filters, so we cleaned them out, and we're going to pop them in place. Okay, filters in. I'm going to feed the posts through first. Now knobs. It's in. It's done. Mission accomplished.
Awesome. And she's working.
It works. Beautiful. Time for another quick rinse of the roof, and then we'll apply our third coat of hand grease. Now we're going to make the side ceiling pieces. The side ceiling panels are all created. Now we just need to slap a couple coats of paint on them. Coat 1, coat 2. Let's put on the lens caps. Now it's time to put the cover on the air conditioner. And now we're going to install the side ceiling panels. Now a quick tour of what we've done in part 2 of our conversion. We've redone the roof, we've installed the air condition, the vent, the upper running lights. We've installed the ceiling, lights, the lower components of the air condition and vent. Now let's take a look at what she looks like at nighttime. And now with the underglow. All lit up with the ceiling lights. And there we have the novelty light. And with that, part 2 of our conversion is done. So if we had to do this project again, is there anything you'd do differently?
I think I'd cover the van more fully with newspaper for painting.
We made a mess, that's for sure.
A big
I
mess.
think we spent almost as much time trying to clean the van as we did paint it. So
At least.
yeah, so I think it would really benefit us to mask as much
The
of the
entire van.
Yeah, as much of it as possible.
How about you? Is there anything you do differently?
Well, I think I would put the tarp up over top of the van much earlier. We
Oh,
had
yes.
we had so much stuff blowing out of the trees. It made the whole painting job so much more difficult. I mean, I can't believe we actually had to vacuum the top of the roof.
Twice.
Yes, I think if we would have put that tarp up earlier, like before we even started the primer, that
Oh, yeah.
our life would have been so
So
much
much
easier.
easier.
So yeah, I think so. Anything else?
I'm not sure I would have used rollers for the Henrys.
Yeah, I agree. There's a recommendation to use rollers, but I think they must have used much thicker rollers than we used, because when we put the Henrys on with the roller, the coat was so thin that it just scratched right off. So
Maybe industrial rollers or
yeah,
something.
I don't know. We just used a paintbrush on our second and third coat, and it went on much thicker,
Yes.
much better. So either get rollers that are going to apply a very thick coat, or just stick with brushes.
Yeah. Good brushes.
Yeah.
We hope you found this video helpful.
If you did, please drop a like, share, and subscribe.
And be sure to check us out at our website, everexpandinglife.com.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
And may you be blessed with an ever-expanding life.